hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Indigo Wound Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host and sister friend, Shatia Owsley, and thank you for watching and or listening. So sit back, grab some tea and a notebook, and let's vibe together as we have organic and practical conversations embracing intuitive womb wisdom, spirituality, and a sprinkle of magic to rebel, restore, and radiate overall wellness in our lives.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Indigo Wound Podcast. I am your host and your sister friend, Shatia Owsley, and today I would like to introduce our guest, Dr.Tenise Hordge. Dr.Tenise Hordge is a mom, she's an educator, and a passionate advocate for maternal health who believes every family deserves compassionate, culturally aware care. As the founder and the CEO of Mother's Magical Milk, she leads a movement to empower families of color through breastfeeding, education, and advocacy. Dr. Horge holds a doctorate in healthcare administration and is an international board certified lactation consultant, also known as an IBCLC. Her unique approach bridges clinical expertise with community connection, helping hospitals, workplaces, and organizations better serve lactating parents through training, policy, and outreach. Through her leadership, Mother's Magical Milk has launched powerful initiatives like the Golden Latch Workplace Certification and the Continuum of Care Summit, all aimed at improving outcomes and advancing equity in maternal health. She is also the author of My Mommy's Milk. Come on, Dr. Wood, show your book. Yes! A children's book that introduces families to the beauty of breastfeeding and the role of lactation consultants. Her work has been featured in Cultural Healthcare Magazine, Voyage Dallas, and shout out DFW, where she's celebrated for her heart-centered leadership and impact in the field. At her core, Dr. Hordge is dedicated to educating, inspiring, and supporting families, reminding mothers that they are capable, they are powerful, and never alone in their journey. Dr.
Hey, Miss Mitz, how are you?
Good. How are you? I'm so happy to have you here today. I'm so excited to dive into our topic. But first, I read your bio. You are doing all the things, all the amazing things. And I can't wait to talk about your book too. But how did you get started? How did this journey start from you? Take us back to the beginning.
Yes, so it was definitely not traditional. So I'm an engineer by trade. I spent 18 years in corporate America in manufacturing, literally doing engineering work, program management, traveled the globe, did all the things related to manufacturing, not a hint of healthcare advocacy. And then I had my first child. So children, as they do, they change the trajectory of your life, and that's what happened to me. So my first kiddo, she came at 31 weeks gestation and spent 6 weeks in the NICU. And so I wanted to breastfeed her. I was crunchy, granola crunchy. We cloth diapered, like I wanted to do all the things, but I really had no idea of the benefit and impact of human milk, especially on my preterm infant. So she spent 6 weeks in the NICU. I was there every day, twice a day, like clockwork, visiting her, pumping, working on breastfeeding, reading to her, all the things. I show up one morning and there's formula in her little pod in the NICU. And I'm like, why is there formula? I was just here. Why is there formula here? And the nurses, who were amazing, I must say, they're like avoiding eye contact with me, right? Like nobody wanted to come and have this conversation with me. And so I finally pulled the nurse aside and I was like, so why is there formula? And she was like, listen, let me just let you talk to the pediatrician. And so the day pediatrician was like, well, I didn't give it to her. And, she kind of blew me off. And I was like, so hold it together. So that evening, it was probably about 9:30 p.m. I am breastfeeding my infant child. And so in the NICU, they would put up like partitions that you could have a little bit of privacy. I'm naked from the waist up, right? Because I am trying to. She wasn't really doing a whole lot of breastfeeding. She was still too small, but we were pretending. We were practicing. So the NICU doctor, he comes around the corner and he's like, I understand you have a problem with us giving your daughter formula. He is on a rant for 7 minutes straight. I don't even think this man was breathing. And so I'm like, my breasts are out. I'm holding my very, very small infant. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm by myself, right? And so that you could hear like just the beeping of the machines and a pin drop in the NICU, like totally quiet. Everybody who was there was probably like, So he finally takes a breath and I'm like, listen, the last thing I want to do is argue with the people that I have to leave my daughter with. Like, she's not coming home today. I don't want to argue with you. I want to partner with you. I want to be a part of her care. We want to understand, what the steps are so that we can discharge her. And what he told me was that she was underweight, obviously, she was preterm, and they were giving her formula to give her more calories so they can discharge her because he had metrics that he needed to keep. So I was like, she's not cattle. We don't need to fatten her up so that we can have Thanksgiving dinner. Now, if he would have told me, Mrs. Horge, if she was still in your womb, she'd be getting vitamin A and mineral this, and I would have been like, give it to her, pump her, start an IV, like pump her veins so that she gets all these things. But what you just told me is that you want to fatten my daughter up like cattle. That's a no. And then so I had some data. I was like, why not fortify my milk? Why not this formula over this formula? And so this whole conversation. So he softened up a little bit, and I prepared to go home. I held it together while I was in the NICU. But when I got to the parking lot, it was that ugly crop, like the heavy heaving, the snot, like I couldn't even drive yet because I couldn't see. Like, I was so upset. And I have nothing against formula, but I understood the benefits of human milk, and I didn't want that to be bypassed so he could meet his statistics for his raise or his bonus at that hospital. So for me, that was the spark that launched my lactation career. This was 2017. Fast forward to 2020, sitting in my makeshift office, I've seen contagion. I'm thinking 30% of the population is going to perish. And I'm like, Lord, if I'm part of the 70% that doesn't, I want to do what I've been put on this earth to do. I am fascinated. I was and still am with human milk, the way that it constantly changes throughout the day, throughout a breastfeeding journey, the way it's the perfect nutrition for our human babies, the long-term benefits that we see, especially for the woman, the reduction of osteoporosis, certain cancers, which we're going to talk about, hypertension, diabetes, and the list goes on and on. It's fascinating. Why are we not, from a public health standpoint, making sure that every woman has all the resources and the education so she can have a successful breastfeeding journey, and especially Black and Brown women? And so for me, that became my mission, my passion. I launched Mother's Magical Milk in November of 2020. We turned 5 this year. Yeah. And it has been, such an amazing journey. Put notice at my corporate career in May of 2021 and started on this path to become an IBCLC because for me, I wanted to be the best version of myself that I could be for my community. And so that for me was that gold standard, that IBCLC credential. So that is how I fell into lactation, or the Lord guided me into the work that I'm doing now.
I love it. It's so beautiful. So what was your path to the IBCLC program? Like, how did you decide? Because you did come from corporate, you did come from an engineering background, but so what made you decide this was the route that you wanted to take?
Yes. So I definitely wanted to be an IBCLC. I didn't know the difference. Listen, lactation alphabet soup out there, it's crazy, right? And I really wasn't sure. So with my son, I had a doula. She has since became a certified nurse midwife, and I reached out to her. We were very friendly, and I said, listen, I think I want to become a lactation consultant. I'm not really sure how to do that. She was like, let me connect you with an IBCLC. Sure, great, thank you. And so I connected with this woman, and I don't know, she didn't direct me the IBCLC route. She directed me the certified lactation counselor route. I didn't know the difference. I'm thinking they're one and the same. So I purchased the class. They had just went all online because it's the pandemic, 40 hours. So I took a leave of absence from my corporate job to complete this course, right? And so I'm like, yeah, I'm a CLC. Woo, let me go. And she was like, you're just a CLC. You're not an IBCLC. And I was like, but isn't that what I asked you? I am getting into these Facebook groups, and I'm like slowly losing my mind. Like, oh my gosh, I have to do all these things to become an CLC. This is the gold standard. I need to go. My engineering background is industrial engineering, so physical science. I have no health science. I had to go back and do the health science, early childhood education, which I really enjoyed, all that learning part. I was still in corporate America, so I had some disposable income. I'm getting like the textbooks. I have never read like this thick, end to end, but girl, they were so fascinating. So much information. I'm just like taking it all in. I don't know about how old you are. In the 80s, what was the movie Short Circuit, where the little robot was like data or input, reading all the input. Like, that was me. And so I was looking at programs. I was like, I can't do this on my own. I really need some structure. I need a program. I was looking at University of San Diego's Pathway 2 program. And I think I had gotten in, I had applied and did all the things. And because of the algorithm on that Blue app, it was sending me ads for Arizona State University's lactation program. And I was like, interesting. I went to ASU for undergrad. My family lives there, and my husband is from there. And so I was like, well, let me see what they're talking about. And it was almost a hybrid pathway 2, pathway 3 program that really interested me. And I was actually their first graduate. And I should probably back up. I live in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I could not find a way to complete my clinical hours. I was calling, I Googled listening consultants, IBCLC. Nobody was doing any type of clinical hours. There was no program in all of this metropolitan area. I could not find a way to get my clinical hours. And so it made sense for me to pick up my 2 children, young children, relocate to Arizona for 5 months. My husband was traveling back and forth. I stayed with my mom. Between my mom and my mother-in-law, they kept our children while I drove all around Phoenix, Arizona, sometimes 50, 60 hours a week for free, getting my clinical hours. Yes, because I was determined. Like once I put my mind in something that I'm going to do, get out of my way. It's like full steam ahead. So that was my path. Do I recommend that? No. It was I can remember getting up at like 5:15. My son was 2 and my daughter was 4, like driving them to my in-laws, and which was like 30 minutes from where I was staying, and then wherever I needed to be in the valley, sometimes going to 2 sites. I did a majority of my clinical hours in a pediatrician's office. I also worked at Banner Hospital, and it was a phenomenal experience. I had 5 CLCs that I was able to really pull from, and they poured into me. Like it was a really great experience, but it was a lot. I wasn't getting paid. So it was a privilege. It was a privilege for me to be able to not work for money during this time, to have free childcare, for my husband to go back and forth. We drove to Phoenix, so I had a vehicle. It was a lot, right? But this is also one of the barriers to success that people have is there's not enough IBCLCs, because if this is the path that they have to do to become, who's going to sign up for that? Or who even has the resources to make that possible? I couldn't even do that today. This was 5 years ago. I was able to, but I really couldn't do that today. And so that's a problem. That's a problem for me. And some of the things that I'm working on in the future, if healthcare continues to be a priority here in this country, is establishing pathways to make more of me. Yeah, in all seriousness.
Yeah. I think that you gave me chills when you were talking, because I just reiterate this every episode that we have, how community in our village is so important. And there's so many of us who don't have community or don't have a village, but when you do have a village where you can actually say, hey, this is my goal, this is what I'm trying to do, and your community and your village rallies around that and say, we believe in you, what we got to do to step in to help you, to get you to where you need to be, where you are on your path and you are able to complete that mission that spirit has put in you. I'm so excited for you. How has the journey been so far since you started, you were able to get your hours, and then what happened?
So it has been a fantastic journey. On that blue app, somebody from, I don't even know, I think she lives in one of the Carolinas, she was looking for NICU graduate parents who have now moved into the birth world. And I was like, oh, that's me. I wouldn't have probably came down this path. And so we had this live, it was like maybe an hour long, myself and 2 other ladies. And from this interview, somebody in Dallas was in my DMs and was like, hey, this may sound weird. We have a few mutual friends. I saw you do this interview. And the nonprofit that I work for is looking for a breastfeeding management specialist. Are you interested? Hells yeah. So, that led to an amazing, I didn't know that nonprofits were hiring breastfeeding management specialists, right? So that was a 2-year opportunity that really changed my perspective on what I can do in this role and the lives that I can change. So that was an absolute blessing. I didn't think that I was going to have my own office. I thought I would just be doing home visits because my car would be my office, this type of thing. I have an office. I've had an office for about 3.5, 4 years. It's been an amazing journey. I've had the opportunity to work with hospitals, lots of training. I am a part of faculty for Kappa, so I'm a lactation educator. So I have taught home visitors from childcare associates here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, nurses, other doulas, those aspiring to be lactation consultants, getting them started on their journey for lactation education. I've had the privilege of serving over 500 clients in my private practice, which is amazing because I've also had repeat clients. That's the best kind of client is repeat. So it has been a fantastic journey. I've met so many wonderful people along the way. And I want to say for the most part, it's humbling, it's beautiful, it's inspiring. And there are moments that, make me want to pull my hair out. Working with insurance is one of them, but I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I might not know exactly what the future holds or how that's going to unfold, but I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So just to kind of go back, I know that you talked about, and this is for the people who are interested in becoming IBCLCs. And everyone's journey may look a little bit different. But what would you say were, other than getting your clinical hours, what are some of the barriers that you've noticed through your journey in your path that other aspiring IBCLCs have experienced, especially in our community, the Black and Brown community?
Yeah, so definitely mentorship, and not just necessarily for clinical hours, but in that business aspect. So an IBCLC framework is very basic. So you just need to know the basics to sit for the exam. But when you're out there with a child, infant who has Down's syndrome or low muscle tone, or you're working with twins or even triplets, or you are, performing an oral assessment for tethered oral ties, this is really things that come with practice and experience, and having mentorship in that aspect, I think, is crucial. Also, it can be lonely as an IBCLC. Even if you meet others, I find that sometimes the birth world, unfortunately, it's very weird, can be very catty. I'm an engineer. I'm not used to this type of interaction. And it's really discouraging because, face it, people who are in birth work, they're not doing it for the money. Like, they shown up because they love this. They love supporting our community, our family. It's a passion within them. But people can be very hurtful and do things to you that undermine you and undercut you, and or just mean hearted. And I don't have a good answer for that, but to know that what is for you, and to continue on your path and journey. And when you do find those individuals that support you and love you and are rooting for you, hang on to them, pull on them, take them along the journey with you, because there's what we're doing is really, it's not for us, it's for others. It's the improvement, it's the inspiration for the next generation, it's the improvement for where we are, it's the continual progress forward. So just trying to keep those insight in mind, top of mind, moving forward. Yeah. So finding a really good mentor, programs to become an ICLC, like there's not a lot. There's not a lot of pathway to programs. So then you have to get literally a mentor for your clinical hours. Business, don't discount business school. So being a lactation consultant is not the same as being a CEO of my company. They're two totally different things, right? And so what that looks like, outsourcing. So when you can, keep the main thing the main thing. Accounting, that's not it. That was one of the first things that I outsourced, you know? So understand what your limitations are and outsource for the things that you can show up in the best way possible, your best self. Because you're not worrying about, did I make sure that I documented lunch and both the expense? I ain't doing that. So I hope that's helpful, right? That
Yes.
mentorship, just from your growth and professionalism, access into becoming an IBCLC, and then the business aspect.
Yeah, I love that. Shout out to Quinn, Dr. Horge's assistant, because she always gets you together and got me together too to make sure that we can make this happen. So shout out to Quinn.
Listen, and then be like, why don't you just ask me, girl? Say less.
Right.
Say less. Thank you. Please and thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes. I love that. Okay, Dr. Horge, let's jump in. Let's talk about breastfeeding, all things breastfeeding. So where do we want to start? Why is it so important? And what are the major benefits? Which is going to take us down a rabbit hole, which I'm super excited about. So let's dive in.
Okay, so why is it so important? Fundamentally, human milk, breastfeeding, is the way in which we feed our children. That is the biological norm. That is what we were designed to do. There are scientists who theorize that the woman's breast is not fully developed until pregnancy, because we see the growth of more glandular tissue, we see the development of colostrum, which is our first milk, all these things that happen during pregnancy. We see the darkening of the areola, the tenderness in the breast. So we think that the areola darkens, so because we know that infants are born with black and white, not very good vision, but it's like a little bullseye. It's like a target for them, so they know where to go. And so that's that, right? Fact number one. Fact number two is formula companies disproportionately and target or market to Black and Brown families, right? So we have this working against us. We have this historical, especially in the African American community, cultural stigma about breastfeeding, rooting from slavery and wet nursing. And then we get this formula marketing. So we have all these things that are working against us. If we step wider and look at minorities in this country, we have medical mistrust. So beyond the Tuskegee Air experiment, we have the sterilization of Native American women and Puerto Rican women. We just have all of these factors that are playing into us that don't support breastfeeding. We don't even have maternity leave, federal maternity leave, from a standpoint of going back to work. So we have all these factors that are working against us. We absolutely need more individuals, whether it's an IBCLC, whether it's a certified lactation educator, whether it's a doula supporting breastfeeding education, management, and resource building. So what that looks like is being able to tell people, I know that there's a lot of factors. I know you might not feel hopeful when you tell somebody that you're in pain, that they are going to believe you and respond. But I am that person, and I surround myself with individuals who are going to believe you. So first of all, if you are in pain, that is a sign that something is not going right. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about education, not even prenatally, but preconception. So I specialize in low supply. So a lot of the times I see mamas with hypertension, diabetes, higher BMIs, and it can make breastfeeding look differently. It can make your pregnancy look differently. So preconception, let's get healthy. Let's make sure we are moving our body. Let's make sure that we are cautious of or aware of the items that we're putting in our body, right? So we can conceive, have a healthy pregnancy, and then get on to a really great breastfeeding journey. So preconception education and healthiness, prenatal education, understanding your body changes, what to expect, planning. Anybody who's ever said, oh, girl, if you need anything, I do need something. Can you DoorDash a meal? Or if you come over, can you unload the dishwasher? I do need something. We were never designed to do this by ourselves. And then when baby comes, making sure that we're off to, like I say, the breast start from those first 72 hours and really making sure we're doing all the things, right? So education is very, very important. And then those long-term benefits. So yes, we are holding baby, we're smelling the top of their head, we're getting the pheromones, we're doing oxytocin is flowing, we're doing all these things. But what we don't necessarily understand or think about is for the baby, the mechanics, the way in the oral anatomy, the functionality that the baby uses their mouth when they're suckling on the breast is fundamentally different from that of bottle feeding. And so we see protections against ear infections, respiratory viruses, sinuses. Then we're also thinking about it's the perfect nutrition. So we have a reduction in diabetes, obesity. When the baby is full, they stop suckling, right? So we see these reductions. We see a reduction in SIDS. Our milk is easily digestible. That means that we have our babies waking up, letting us know that they're hungry. I speak frequently, and tomorrow I'm going to be doing a book signing at a Black homeschoolers fair. And so when I'm talking to kids and I'm normalizing breastfeeding, I talk about different animals. So I'll talk about how the horse, when the baby foal is born, they start walking right away. I'm like, do we start walking right away as humans? No, we have to be carried. Of course, because we're carried mammals. And I talk about sea turtle. The sea turtle mama, she climbs up on the beach and she lays her eggs. And you guys know what? She disappears. And sea turtles, when they hatch, they make their way back to the ocean, but they live a solitary life. Who knows what solitary is? That's by themselves. Does anybody here live by themselves? No, you're silly. I'm starting to normalize how humans behave and what we need, right? If you look at other mammals, humans have the shortest gestational period, right? So we're only in the womb for about 9-10 months. That's not a lot of time. So when we come out, we're still developing. There's still things that are maturing, and we need to be close to our support system, our mommies, our dad, so we can do these things. So I talk about that. And so we see additional benefits because this is how we were designed. And if we talk about the woman, the longer the woman breastfeeds, the more impact of these benefits that we see, like hypertension. I grew up in corporate America, manufacturing at that. I always thought heart attack was the old white man in the corner office because he's super stressed out working 16 hours a day. That's not the case. It is 51% of American women have hypertension, 56% of Black women, and 43% of Hispanic women. Literally heartbreaking, right? It's literally heartbreaking because we're trying to do all the things. We think we have an S on our chest, and we're caring for maybe the elders. We have children in the home. We hold 91% of buying power in our household. There's a lot going on, and that is reflected in our health. And so being able to get that good breast start in the beginning, a 34% reduction in hypertension-related deaths and diseases. We see a reduction in diabetes, osteoporosis. So when a mother is breastfeeding, absolutely we see a dip in calcium. But when she weans, it more than doubles. It's like a little gift for breastfeeding, like, there you go. Thanks for breastfeeding, that our bodies do. And so that's a lot. There's a lot of education pieces from a preconception, prenatally, that early postpartum period. We talk about the benefits of the baby and then these long-term health benefits for the mom that we don't talk about enough because we would see such an impact in our public health later in life.
Yeah. So, what are the top 3 to 5 benefits for moms that should be told to them, right? That aren't being told to them, to help them to really understand the benefit, the importance of breastfeeding, right? Also, with that, to tell family members who are saying, that baby's still on that boob. When that baby getting off that breast? What can they say?
Yes. Okay. So top 3 to 5, more sleep. So women who breastfeed have more sleep than bottle feeding, less illnesses, right? Because babies getting antibodies, all these things. So that means also equates to less taking off from work because you don't have to call out because your baby is sick. So that's a benefit financially. Then we have those long-term health benefits that I talked about: reduction in hypertension, reduction in diabetes. That's for mother and baby. In Dallas County, not too far from where I live, the number one admission for Black men was diabetes. So these benefits, right? Long-term benefits. If I think about the family members who might not understand the relationship between mother-baby feeding, normal breastfeeding, you cannot spoil the baby. You cannot spoil the baby. You cannot spoil the baby. Babies do not cry because they don't want you to watch Netflix. They're crying because they have a need that needs to be answered, that needs to be met. And so I also want to share with those very helpful family members who might not understand the biological or the average for breastfeeding worldwide is between 4 and 7 years. Okay. In the West, we we sexualize breasts. We don't support women. And the first teeth that fall out, it's called milk teeth. And coincidentally, they fall out between 4 and 7 years of life. So there's a correlation of how we are supposed to be biologically.
And how does the milk change? So the milk that comes in the colostrum that comes in, initially it's developed before even baby gets here sometimes, right? And then let's say up to 4 years old. What are some of the
Yes.
differences that you see? Because as you mentioned, the milk changes based on the needs of the child, correct?
Absolutely. Yes. So our first milk colostrum is present about the 16th week of pregnancy. So the reason why the woman is not just like flooding her breasts are flooding with milk is because the high levels of estrogen and progesterone in her body, which is sustaining her pregnancy. So when the placenta is delivered from the body, we see a drop in progesterone and estrogen. That's when the brakes come off of human lactation. So that's when colostrum starts transitioning into that mature milk. Occurs between 24 and 48 hours if there is a natural vaginal birth. If there is a C-section and or a very long stage 2, we see a delay in that process up to 72 hours. But the colostrum is still there and baby can be just fine on colostrum. So in the first 10 to 12 days postpartum, we may have some transitional milk and then we have mature milk. So mature milk lasts until the mom starts to wean. Weaning milk is when she's producing less than 12 ounces of milk per 24-hour period. So one cool thing about weaning milk is that it is jam-packed of nutrients, much like colostrum. So it's like your body knows, okay, we're about to stop this journey. Let me give you all the last bits of, good stuff that I have. And then, so how does this milk change? Excellent question. So we have these pheromones, we have a lot of things going on. But we also believe that baby saliva enters mama's breast through her Montgomery glands, travels up to the brain, sends some signals, the brain changes the recipe, and then out through the hormones, the milk is different. So that milk never stops being nutritious for baby because it's constantly changing. This is really why also skin to skin is so important. Even if a mom is a exclusive pumper, we want her to be skin to skin. We want her to smell baby's head and interact and keep baby near as much as possible. So it's really the biology behind this is really fascinating.
I'm over here writing notes, Dr. Denise.
I
I'm over
know,
here
I
writing
know.
notes.
I almost paused because I didn't. I want to make sure that if you have a question, we talk about it because I will talk about this all day.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, 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 yes. So toddlers. So I have a 2.5-year-old.
Hmm.
who's still nursing. He doesn't nurse as
Hmm.
much as he used to, but he's still nursing. And so at 2.5, right? What does that look like for him? Like, what is he getting in the milk? And I know it may be a little bit different for each person, but just can you give me or give us a general overview at this age? What is he receiving in the nutrients of the milk?
Yeah. So the composition, again, like you said, is changing. Your breast milk is like over 80% water, so he's getting hydration. It continues to have proteins, immunoglobulins, antibodies, fats. All this is still, he's still getting all these things, minerals, iron, but he's also his safe place. So the act of nursing is also comforting to him and for him. He is close to you. He knows your scent, right? He can hear your heartbeat. He's where he wants to be. You regulate him. Let's talk about skin to skin in general and just breastfeeding. But when you do skin to skin with your son, not only do you heat and cool him, but you regulate his blood sugar. Now, your husband can certainly do skin to skin and help keep your son warm, but he doesn't have the cooling effect that you have. So when your son comes to you for nursing, it's not all about nutrition for him. He's in his safe place. So that milk continues to be the perfect nutrition in protein, hydration, fats, lipids, immunoglobulins, like all of these things in changing amounts throughout the day, even hormones. So even the at night,
Melatonin?
yes, yes,
Okay.
he's getting all of this from you.
Okay.
And the thing about let's talk about something like iron is not even bioavailable. Like
Hmm.
you can't like dig it out the ground.
Right.
When these formula companies are like, oh, we have DHA, and we're from where? Where did you get where did you get it from? It's not even bioavailable. So yeah, so he's still getting those from you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're loving our time. It's so funny because I look at some of these social media posts of moms who have toddlers who are still nursing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my life because he does not sit still. He is flipping, he's flopping, he's up, he's down, he's standing up. I'm like, okay, and then he's like, I'm done. And then he just runs off, and I'm like, okay, all
We
right,
call
you're
that
good.
nursing gymnastics.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad it has a name, Dr. C. I'm glad
It
it has a
does.
name. So I did have a question. So you spoke about that you really spend a lot of your time specializing with moms who have low supply. I would like to talk about the difference between overproducing, what is a normal amount of milk to produce, and low supply. Because I think sometimes in this age of social media, we see these videos and these pictures of freezers full of milk and people who have just like tons and tons of milk, and other moms and birthing people are like, it must be something wrong with me because I've only got 3 ounces of milk. I'm under supplying. I have a low supply. So how do we get people to understand the difference between the three, right? And what are the numbers for people who over supply, and how does that even happen?
Yep, excellent question. Okay, so where do I start?
Let's
TikTok
say
and
we're
Instagram.
oversupply.
Yes, they make my job very, very difficult because what you see on in social media is someone who's feeding their freezer. I don't want to feed the freezer. I want to feed my baby. And what you don't see on the flip side of that is now they are married to the pump because their baby is full. That baby ain't taking any more milk. They like, I'm good, mom. But mom has to get that milk out. She is uncomfortable. She may be, if we don't, we have clogged ducts, it can lead to mastitis, a whole host of things because this milk has to come out. So now we're married to the pump. So not only did I just feed my baby, but now I got to go pump for 20 minutes because I have built up an oversupply, right? And so low milk supply is defined simply as less than what your baby consumes in a day. So there's not, hard and fast, just right between 24 and 36 ounces per 24-hour period. So we really want to target that just right. We live in a society of what ifs or, and I'm a planner, so I fall into that category as well. But 200 years ago, people weren't worried about, I got to express my milk so that I can store it in the ground and it's going to stay cool. No, you just fed your baby. And if we just like kind of concentrated on just making just enough, that is exactly where we should be. I understand that that's not the society that we live in, right? I encourage mamas to go out with your girlfriends, go and rediscover who you are as a person. And if that means that you need to pump and leave that baby with daddy or whoever so you can go do that, please do that. Okay. So I am not saying that, but we just need to find that balance. We really just want to be creating enough milk for exactly what baby needs. If it helps you sleep at night to have a couple of breaks in the freezer, do it. If you are teetering on that low supply and you may need some donor milk from your cousin or the lady downtown or whatever it might be, or if you choose to supplement with formula and you have a case, just in case, and that soothes your mind, do it. I don't want the idea of feeding to provide or to cause further, feelings of inadequacy or whatever that might be. That's not a win, right? So we want to make sure that we are meeting people where they are, reassuring mom just enough is just enough. If we need to have feeding options, there are other options that we can talk about so that you are feeling at peace with your decisions, and we're moving forward each day. We're trying to get a little bit better.
Yeah, I like that. So you made a point about possibly having to supplement, moms who may have to supplement. I did have a question. So if that is the case, if they are pumping and also supplementing with formula, do you recommend that they make a bottle and half of the bottle is breast milk and half of the bottle is formula and they mix it together, or should they do it separately?
Do it separately. I do not
Okay.
recommend mixing adding formula to breast milk. Prepare your formula as it is required, the directions on the back of the bottle, whatever. I don't care if you pump half an ounce of breast milk, give that to baby first, and then whatever other supplement that you're having. But I don't recommend mixing the two.
Okay. And why? Because some people do mix them.
They do. So you can overload baby's kidneys, right? So we want to prepare formula as it is designed to be prepared per the instructions. I don't care if it's a syringe, if it's a spoon, give whatever you have expressed, give that to baby first, and then follow up with the formula bottle or whatever it might be.
Awesome. Okay. And then another question that I have heard a lot of times, or just, I would like for you to debunk this myth, Dr. T, is breast size and the amount of milk.
Yes. So I always have to share. I don't know how old I was. I was like 14, 15, and I was feeling some type of way about my lack of breast development. And my aunt was like, "You only need a mouthful." And I was like, "Okay. Well, okay, good to know." I didn't start with that. So breast size does not indicate breast human milk production and or volume. So the majority of your breast glandular tissue is located about an inch from your areola. So really kind of up front, not back here. This is mainly fat back here. So it doesn't really doesn't equate. And so you could be a double D. I have no idea because I chair the itty bitty titty committee until I have my daughter. So I'm not really sure about the sizes, but it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
seen A cups like with, just milk pouring out, and I'd be like, girl, okay with this. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So let's talk about mom. Let's talk about the benefits of breastfeeding for mom in the long term. So this is where we kind of started, and so we're circling back to that because we talk about all of the benefits for baby and why baby should be breastfed and what the benefits of human milk is for the baby. But let's talk about the benefits for mom long term and what happens. One of the things that we talked about is breast cancer, right? How does breastfeeding impact or decrease the chances of breast cancer for mamas?
Yeah. So historically, we have learned and known from studies that breastfeeding reduces the instances of breast cancer later in life. We know that when you are breastfeeding, your breasts are very dense. It may be more difficult to see breast cancer while you are breastfeeding using a mammogram. So, two things. If you know that you already have dense breasts prior to breastfeeding and or it is the time for you to get a mammogram while you are breastfeeding, for an ultrasound. Ultrasound is far more effective in determining breast cancer in dense breasts. So that's the first thing. Second, so there's some new research out there that has given us a little bit of a pause as it relates to breastfeeding and breast cancer. And I probably should have pulled these studies up. It may be that breastfeeding delays the actual onset of breast cancer, reduces the occurrence of breast cancer. There's just more studies needs to be done. I feel like if men they can get breast cancer, but I think if more of them got breast cancer and or lactated, we would have copious studies and information to choose from. But from what the data is showing us, there seems to be either a delay and or a reduction in breast cancer in women who have breastfed.
Okay. So why do the breasts become so dense during during breastfeeding? And can a person already have dense breasts prior to, and then do they get denser, or like how does it work?
So I actually am a person who has very dense breasts. I've been told, and I have fibrocystic breasts, so always lumpy. And I remember in my 20s, they were like, "Well, is this a new lump?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's just lumpy altogether." So I've always had dense breasts. I don't know if your breasts become denser. If they're already breast, it's just dense breast. So during when a woman is lactating, there's a lot going on in the breast. There's a lot of blood flow. There is the growth development of your glandular tissue. We have the alveoli squeezing out the milk. We have milk running through the milk tubs. There's just a lot of activity, and a mammogram is just not the best way to capture that information. It is not having dense breast is not like a symptom of something. It's not to be something of concern about. You should just be aware if you have dense breast, a mammogram is not your tool for breast cancer screening. It's always going to be an ultrasound.
Okay. Okay. And that's interesting to hear about the ultrasound, because that wasn't the information that I was provided when I went for my GYN checkup. They were like, "Oh, you're still nursing? Okay. Well, we're going to wait. And when you stop, you need to wait 4 to 6 months after you stop to then go and then get your
Please don't.
mammogram done."
No.
Okay.
And especially if your sister or your aunt or somebody close by has had breast cancer, you need to keep up with those very regularly. So if you go and get a mammogram and they say that you have dense breast, they are now required to send a letter to you that says they that breast cancer wasn't determined, but you have very dense breast. Because there was a young lady who had breast cancer and dense breast. The mammogram didn't really show that, and they didn't they didn't recommend for her to go and get an ultrasound. And it was later determined that she had breast cancer. And so now they are obligated to send out this letter to you. So OBGYNs might not have the most up-to-date information. So please do not skip your mammograms, ladies. And also please do not wait 4 to 6 months post breastfeeding. You can even get a private ultrasound. There are organizations like HerScan that travel throughout a lot of the major cities where you can get an ultrasound. If you are struggling with your insurance, so maybe you are not quite 40 or whatever the age is for a mammogram, or they're not going to cover it, call a private ultrasound location and tell them that you are self-paid. Don't even mention your insurance. You may think it's like several $1,000s. It's not. It's probably only a couple $100s. It's several thousand if you have insurance, because they're getting paid more from your insurance company.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because all the way up until I got pregnant with my first son, I had very cystic breasts. They were so lumpy and bumpy. And I actually found a lump, went in, and they were like, "Oh, it's just a swollen milk duct." Like there wasn't, and I was like, "Oh, okay." But since having my first son, who's now 12, I nursed him until he was about 13 months or so, and he weaned himself. He just woke up one day and was like, "No, I'm good. Thanks. I'm done with that." My breasts have become less dense and less bumpy and less, cystic. And I was like, okay. And so now I'm on this journey again, and we're at 2.5. And I'm constantly like this all the time, up under my arms. I'm like, is that a lymph node? What is that? Is that moving? Like, okay, what's going on around here? So that's really good information.
I'm so sorry, but I love that you know your breast that way. Listeners, take heed. I see so many people in my office and I'm like, your nipple looks a little pink to me. Is that your normal hue, your normal coloring? They're like, I don't know. I don't look at my breast. I don't touch my breast. I don't know. We should know. We should be able to describe. We should be able to, that's a new spot or whatever. So first of all, kudos for you knowing your breast. Okay, continue.
So I know. So I was just saying, I was just so, and even my GYN at the time, because I have a new one now, but she was like, your boobs are they're not as lumpy as they were. They're not as lumpy as they were because I used to always say, "Oh gosh, Shatia, your breasts are so lumpy." She was like, "But now not so much." And they never went back to how they were previously. So I was like, "Oh, okay," because then I was constantly checking all the time. Am I up? Am I down? did I feel that before? Was that always there? And so that was just really interesting. But I think the human body is just so interesting on how it just evolves and changes and grows. And so, Dr. Tenise, is there anything else that you would like to share with us in regards to just your love for breastfeeding and how families, moms can benefit from just the act of breastfeeding?
Yeah, I mean, it is immensely easier to try breastfeeding and decide that you don't want to do it later than to not start and then try to kind of get it going. So give it a try. Reach out, build a support system and team for those moms in the preconception or ladies in the preconception area or prenatally. Have a birthing team that's going to support your lactation decision. If you are working in corporate America or, whatever it might be, understand where your breastfeeding room is, your lactation room prior to going out on maternity leave. Let your coworkers know that this is your intention when you come back. Seek a prenatal breastfeeding class so that you can arm yourself with information, start making those relationships. Know that you are enough. Sometimes our breastfeeding journeys and even our birthing stories don't work out as we plan. So allow yourself grace during this time frame. Try to be in the moment. There's a lot of things, just with the changes in our body, that early postpartum. Breastfeeding is the latch this way, it's baby gaining weight. Allow yourself to be in the moment and note that it's a chapter and that it's going to pass. And so that would be kind of my best few nuggets. Secure your team, get your resources together, and try your best to enjoy this moment. You're never going to get this back.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, okay, Dr. Denise, this is the last question for this part of it because it just popped into my mind. So many of us are going through the perimenopausal period. And
Paramini is
so,
something else.
yeah. And so I would like for you to just touch on just a little bit because there are so many mamas who are having babies later in life and your body changes during that postpartum time, especially when you're nursing, your hormone levels change. And so you're breastfeeding, your hormone levels change. You are possibly perimenopause during that time as well. And so I would like to know how it just affects your body, from what you see moms who are over 40 or going through this perimenopausal, what does it look like for them? And what are a couple tips that they can add to their life to help them? Because we're going through a lot of different transitions at one time.
It is a lot. So, oddly enough, my recommendations aren't different for a mom who's in their 20s. So I like to think of it as flying on an airplane, putting on your gas mask first. Take care of you. That means eating and drinking well. Eat a variety of colors on your food. Eat good fats or choose good fats. Maybe that looks like avocado. Maybe it looks like nuts and seeds. Carbs are not necessarily the enemy. You need that sustained energy throughout the day. So maybe choosing maybe sweet potato over McDonald's French fries. When you're talking about our carbs, green leafy vegetables, great source of iron. So a variety of foods. So take care of yourself. Drink lots of water. Good rest. Waving that white flag when you're stressed out or if something isn't happening well. Continue your prenatals until you switch over to a multivitamin because typically our diets aren't good enough. Don't be afraid to talk about what you're experiencing with your PCP so that you can get some good recommendations. Movement, get up and move. If it's walking on a treadmill or whatever, get some movement, some yoga, whatever it is. And so it's not necessarily different from different standpoints in our life, but just make sure you're aware of your body, you're aware of these changes because Mini,
She ain't come to
and
play.
for black women up to 10 years earlier than our counterparts, we're entering this perimenopause phase. Y'all, it's a lot. It's a lot going on.
It is. It is. Oh, I'm so happy that you joined us today. You have given us so many good gems. Please, 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 please tell, and I will make sure it's in the description of your episode, how people can get in contact with you, how they can work with you, how they can love on you and support you, because we are all about community, building a village. And the way that you are pouring back into the community, we want to be able to pour back into you. So how can we get in contact with you?
Yay. Well, you can definitely find me online at www.mothersmagicalmilk. You can also purchase my book online from my website, My Mommy's Milk. You can follow me on social media, so TikTok, Instagram, Facebook at Mother's Magical Milk. If you want to know where I'm going to be, I do several speaking engagements. I talk a lot about motherhood and entrepreneurship on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is where you'll be able to find kind of where I am and what's going on in the realm of professionalism. I've been back and forth with my we'll talk about the podcast about my blog. So I share just kind of the funny things about being a mom. I share recipes on my blog on mothersmagicalmilk.com. I have a podcast dropping soon. It's called Maternity Brief, and it's all thing maternal. So not just that postpartum girl. We talk about perimenopause. We talk about menopause. We talk about caring for elderly, all the things that are associated with that maternal kind of phase. It's not a phase, that maternal aspect of life is who we are as individuals. And so all of the things maternal will be captured there. And so, yeah, that's where you can find it.
Awesome. One last question that I ask all the guests before we sign off for today. With all of your lived experience, everything that you've been through, the things that you've seen, all the feels, what would you tell little Dr. Tenise?
Oh, she's right here too. Can y'all see her? You see a picture of
Up,
her?
up,
Do
up,
you
up.
see her?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, what would I tell her? I would tell her, live your life, take those mistakes, take those lessons learned, and try to be better each day. There are a lot of amazing experiences that you are going to undergo, places that you're going to see. Try to soak it all in and live in the moment.
I love it. Thank you, Dr. Tenise, for your time, your energy, all the gems you dropped today. I honor and appreciate you for all of your time, all of the work that you are doing. I'm so glad that you got the call to pivot because we are so blessed to have you doing this work. So please love on Dr. Tenise. Please support her. Please give her all the feels, follow her, and support her. I'm about to go online and get this book so I can have it in my library. Yes, I
Yes.
am. But I want to thank you again for joining today. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And we will see you in the next episode. Bye.